And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Before we get into today's video, make sure you drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. So of course the January transfer window is now here, and therefore there's a lot of talk around the club about potential transfers coming in, and of course about potential players leaving the club. So we've got a little bit to discuss in today's video as some massive Celtic transfer news, as two targets have been identified. So very, very interesting here. Of course, every single story we talk about, they're not all going to happen. Not all the players are going to join the club. But this is kind of what's been spoken about recently in the last 24 hours with regards to the football club, about who could potentially join the team this January. Of course, I guess the desperation isn't as much as it was after the defeat to Hearts. I mean, we won a lot of games on the bounce recently, so we do feel a little bit more confident now with the team that we have. But of course, it can never hurt to really improve the squad this January, and that was always kind of the plan, to get certain positions improved upon in this transfer window. So we'll go through the players that we have been linked to in the last 24 hours and kind of discuss how maybe likely it is it's going to happen. But of course, a few days ago there was news released about Kyogo not being or not playing in the Asian Cup for Japan this winter. So that's good news for us. I'm sure he's devastated with that himself personally, but that could maybe change some of the outcome of the transfer market a little bit as well. Of course, we spoke about Bojan Maviovski before as a potential replacement for Kyogo if he was to go out on international duty this January. So it'll be interesting to see where that story kind of goes to now, but he's not included in this video for now. So the first kind of rumour that's been spoken about is Liverpool left back Owen Beck. However, it's not just Celtic currently showing interest in the player. Rangers are also interested in the talented youngster as well. So the Sun Sport claims that both teams have been making discreet inquiries about Beck's situation, especially intriguing since Liverpool recently pulled him back from a stint at Dundee. This is a lad who just the other week was battling it out on the pitch against Celtic on Boxing Day. However, Jurgen Klopp and the Anfield crew seem to have their own plans, with intentions to keep Beck wrapped up in the Liverpool colours for the rest of the season. The word on the street is that Klopp sees something special in him, a spark maybe that he's not ready to let go of just yet. So of course Beck was on loan at Dundee this season. He's been recalled since then, had a great time at the club, and obviously caught the attention of both Celtic and Rangers, the two biggest teams in the league. So obviously got bags and bags of potential, and it's very, very interesting that he was called back, and Klopp wants to keep him in the setup. But despite this, Celtic have been linked to him. It doesn't really state on this report whether it's a loan deal or if it's a permanent transfer. I imagine it will be a loan deal rather than a permanent transfer. As I mentioned, Klopp's pretty keen on him and thinks he's got a good future ahead of him. But for a Celtic point of view, this is great to be kind of linked to him, because I made it pretty clear. I think a lot of fans are pretty open about the fact that they don't think Greg Taylor's up to the standards of a Celtic football player, or a first team player at least. So I don't think Owen Beck's quite there yet, but obviously very young, loads and loads of potential, and if he did join the club, he could obviously grow into be a great player for us in the future. So therefore, for me personally, if we were going to go get Owen Beck, I want it to be a permanent transfer, because I don't want to loan a player that I don't think is up to the standard of Celtic right now to be a first team player. He's still young, so it would only make sense really to sign him permanently. So I don't really see this one happening this January, but it has kind of been the talk of the town recently, the talk of the city really, with both Celtic and Rangers interested in him. So we'll see where that goes, but I don't think that will happen, just because I don't think he's up to the standards of right now to fill in as a first team player. But that could change, obviously. We'll see what happens with regards to that story. Now let's talk about Nat Phillips quickly briefly actually. So obviously his loan deal's coming to an end, but it's been pretty radio silent on the club's social medias about him. Obviously didn't have a great time at the club. I'm sure he's happy to leave, and it was a bit disappointing. When he signed, actually, I was quite excited. I thought he'd be kind of a stonewall starter for us, but never really worked out that way, unfortunately, for him. And I'm sure he has to kind of find his next move in January and go somewhere else for the rest of the season, because he obviously wants to get first team football. And I don't think he'll find that at Liverpool this season, like he struggled so far this campaign already with Celtic. So it's been pretty quiet on the front of Nat Phillips. No real goodbye message or thank you message from the club. Very, very interesting. Maybe the Maybe the media team are still celebrating from the derby win the other day there, but who knows? Now, the second target that's been identified is that of Lawrence Shankland. Of course, Shankland's been in top form so far this season. And this rumour or story, if you will, does originate from hitc.com. Now, whilst they're normally on the ball with football news, it's worth noting they're not in the Celtics inner circle with the journalists and stuff like that, like who we kind of normally rely on for our stories and stuff like that. So it's kind of worth pointing that out. So right now it does seem like it's just rumours rather than a solid interest. But I'm not surprised about this one whatsoever. He's been in brilliant form so far this season for Hearts. And of course, there were kind of murmurs or rumours about Rangers being really, really interested in him. But since then, they've obviously got Fabio Silva on loan from Wolves. So that interest in him from Rangers has kind of died down a little bit, as you'd expect. But there's a host of clubs interested in Shankland nonetheless, regardless of Rangers and Celtic are not. So the reports obviously state that Everton, Sheffield United, Crystal Palace, Burnley, Southampton, Hull City and Middlesbrough are also said to be watching the informed striker with keen interest. Of course, Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers has been open about his admiration for Shankland, hailing his fantastic finish in the Edinburgh Derby last week where Shankland won it in stoppage time. And I've mentioned multiple times already, he's been in brilliant top form. A really good old school striker, really good for this league. And I think if he's doing this in a Hearts team, what could he do in a Celtic team with better players around him and in a stronger team overall? So obviously I'd be keen to maybe getting him in, but I don't think he'd want to join to be a third choice striker or second choice striker behind Kyogo. But for a good league striker, he's definitely an option. I think there's obviously rumours that he's a Rangers fan, a Boyd Rangers fan as well, so we'll see what he wants to do with regards to that as well. And also bearing in mind as well, a few years ago he was in the Belgian league and kind of really struggled there as well, so it just seemed like he's really good in the Scottish league, but elsewhere he's kind of really struggled. So would he be good in Europe or not? I'm not too sure. I do think he's a brilliant player. I'm not going to slag him off if he's a Rangers fan or not. He's still a good striker, let's be honest, in this league. He's very good for this level. But I don't think he's at that level to kind of take us to the next step in Europe and compete in Europe, that which we want to do next season, of course, after a disastrous campaign this season. So those are kind of the two targets that have been kind of mentioned. I do think Shankland's probably the most realistic one out of the two. I think Owen Beck, he probably will stay at Liverpool this season, but it is intriguing that we are showing interest in a left back and stuff like that as well. Of course, Greg Taylor, mentioned him before, not the biggest fan of him. So let me know what you made of those kind of two transfer stories there. I'd be keen to get your thoughts on if you think Shankland would do good at the club, and do you think Beck could be a good option for the future, of course, as well, if that does ever come to fruition, maybe in the summertime or something like this. But it's going to be a busy time this January, of course, with transfer news. There's a little break now in football in the league, but guarantee it's going to be constant every single day with rumours here and there, players coming, players going. So we will keep updated now going forward. The New Year's is out of the way. I've recovered from the nights out and stuff like that, so I'm ready to go. I hope you guys had a great New Year, and keep an eye out for the channel because we'll be keeping you posted on all Celtic news going forward. So yeah, drop a like on this video, guys, and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.